One of my favorite quotes is from Albert Einstein, who said that the things that count most in life can't be counted. The scientists were counting whales on the surface, and the Inuit said that's not the way narwhals swim. They swim in layers. There's typically 4 layers of narwhals. So actually the whales that come up, they take turns. Each layer takes a turn to breathe, and then the other layer goes down. So actually when you see whales on the surface, there's roughly 4 to 5 times the number that you're counting that are swimming below.
We have the chance to preserve magic on Earth. The myth of the unicorn actually comes from the narwhal and Vikings hunting the narwhal and selling the tusks in Europe. And so just to go through some of that history and enchant people with the lore of the unicorn, and then present them with the majesty that is the narwhal, which exists.
In 2008, there was a large one with about 800 whales that were trapped. And what's interesting about this is that the Inuit in Pond Inlet said that the whales that were trapped were actually not from their community. They were from Clyde River, which I thought was an interesting part of the story. And they also felt that some of the seismic testing was some of the reason why these whales drifted further north in an area that they were unfamiliar with. The analogy that's given by people like Rosneft and some of the Russian and Shell Oil that have done some of the preliminary drilling is that if there are billions of gallons of oil in the Middle East, there are trillions of gallons in the Arctic. So there is a high-stake commitment to gain access to the Arctic, to make claims to the Arctic.
We've been taught to live in a certain box system that is just not healthy, neither for our body, neither for our spirit.
To understand that your frame of reference in how you think is completely random. We are only taught to think one way. It doesn't mean that's the way. And indeed, if we're going to understand not only different cultures, but different ways of thinking, we actually have to learn to get out of our thought process. And that can be very difficult. And it's the source of a lot of cultural conflict. But narwhal have this constant monitoring of their environment. So these tubules, which extend out from its inner nerve to really the ocean environment, keep in mind that narwhal have no teeth in their mouth, and they have the ability to form 12 other teeth, which they genetically silence at birth. So something in the evolutionary history of this animal says, no, don't worry about the 12 teeth. It helps us chew and bite our food. What we would rather have is this huge 8-foot probe sticking out, horizontally impacted in our bone.
8 feet?
Usually it's about 8 feet, yeah. So it's an extraordinary tooth. I mean, I'm a dentist, so this is it for me on the planet. You know, if you don't get any wilder and counterintuitive than a narwhal does.
About 35% of people have never heard of them, think they're mythological, or they think they're already extinct. So that's another part, is to actually educate people that these animals are real and they have the opportunity to save them.